Welcome back to the Hunt Fish Live podcast. I'm Dan, your host, and this is episode 6. This week we are going to talk about pre-rut deer hunting and a little bit about rattling. Let's get right into it. To start out, I went down to Northwest Indiana with my buddy Steve. Everyone else went north, and actually Tyler went out to Wyoming mule deer hunting with his buddy Rob and our friend Josh and his dad John. Tyler, John, and Josh have all been successful with mule deer out there in the past few days, so that's really exciting. You're not going to want to miss those episodes of Hunt Hard next summer. With those hunts, I'm sure they're going to be awesome. I can't wait to hear about them. While they're out in Wyoming, I was in Northwest Indiana with Steve, like I said. Friday night, I decided to hunt the edge of a cut bean field that we've been seeing deer at like crazy, and I didn't see a single deer in the field. Like, take that back. I saw a doe and a fawn probably 400 yards away crossing a ditch, but that was about it. It was a pretty boring, uneventful hunt. It was kind of warm, which doesn't help down there either. Saturday morning, I moved to a stand in the woods, and it was decently cold. There was a little bit of frost on the ground, and that felt good for the first time this year. Not long after the sun came up, I had a spike come in from out in front of me to my left. Did a little bit of grunting at him just to try to get him to come in because I knew that I could trick him, being young and dumb. But for some reason, he didn't want to. He kind of skirted me about 40, 50 yards to my left and got behind me and started pacing back and forth. He was eating, not pine cones, he was eating acorns that were falling that day. So I don't blame him. Ended up taking a selfie with him, actually. So I didn't feel that he was going to bust me or anything like that. He was downwind and everything. So he hung out back there behind me for a little while until a doe and 2 fawns came walking through on the trail along the ditch, and they scooted into some CRP, and he followed them. So it wasn't a true successful hunt on Saturday morning, but it was pretty good. I had a good time. It was a great morning out there. Saturday night, it was hot. It was almost 80 degrees, and I saw a big deer crossing the cut bean field. I sat on the edge of the cut bean field again in the same stand that I hunted Friday night in hopes of seeing something late. The area is on the shadow side of this big woods, the big woods on a property, so it's all in the shade. And I was thinking they were going to come out into the shade and hang out and eat for a while, but they did not. I'm assuming they started feeding after dark, and our trail camera pictures showed that was the case as well. Sunday morning, same thing, same stand. I felt they would be there because it was cool overnight. It was 37 degrees, I think, and trail cameras were blown up all night. So I figured I'd give that stand a shot again, and nothing. So we move on. I might be back this coming weekend, but I'm not sure. Definitely be down early November for rutcation, which is always a great time. We've been seeing bucks on our cameras starting to spar a little bit. The young ones have been going pretty hard. The 1.5-year-olds have been fighting pretty hard the past few days in those cooler nights. So that's been cool, fun to see, fun to watch a little bit. So I guess pre-rut activity is picking up. The big ones should start moving around more, and you should be getting some more daytime movement from your deer herd, giving you a better chance at taking one. That being said, when do you start to rattle? I typically rattle a little bit right around now, but nothing too heavy until the rut's full on. That's when the big bucks are in fighting mode, and looking for that altercation and that hot doe. Right now, a little bit, I wouldn't say soft rattling, but some light rattling will work. My buddy Jeff was up north this past weekend, and he had a big one come out into the corn that he was hunting, and he actually has he has 3 antlers tied to a rope that hang down to the ground, and so when that deer came out, deer came out probably 70, 80 yards away, and he jiggled his rope a little bit. He was in a blind, so his antlers were on the ground outside, and put a little light rattling sequence together, and that buck stopped dead in his tracks. He was kind of following a couple does, and he walked right up to him, 15-yard shot. He nailed him. The deer ran probably, what do you say, 100 yards or so, and piled up right there. Thing was a giant. So very happy for him. When I rattle, I actually bought a set of antlers off of eBay probably 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, and that's what I've been using. They're kind of bulky, but I like the sound of the natural antler. I know some guys use rattle bags. I know some guys use the flex tone. I forget what they're called. The double antler things. They're kind of big and bulky. My buddy Josh uses the compact rattle thing. It's like 2 handles of gray plastic. I think his are gray. Anyway, they have a bunch of features on that. When you press and twist them together, and they make the rattling sound of a deer. So he usually has pretty good luck with that. He's a big rattler, and it's fun hearing his stories about it. It makes you want to pick it up, but I'm just not a huge rattling fan, but I do it, and it works. Especially hunting an open field, you see that big buck walking across, way out of range, and you hit those horns, and typically he'll turn and come looking for that fight. And it typically in Michigan, I typically only rattle in that situation where I see that buck and it gives him a chance to put a bead on my location and come to me. I typically don't do much blind calling with the antlers here, just because there's a lot of hunting pressure around where I hunt, and the deer get used to it. I think if you're going crazy, they're gonna know what's going on. But in a lower pressure area like Indiana, where we hunt, it's a little bit easier to do that blind calling. There's not a lot of hunting pressure. Our property's huge, and the deer just seem more apt to respond to that sort of calling. It's kind of the same thing with turkey hunting down in Indiana. You can throw up a blind in the field, on a field edge or in the woods even, and throw out a couple decoys, and you barely have to do any calling. Those birds are on you so fast all the time. It's definitely not as hard turkey hunting down there as it is in Michigan. Michigan's more run and gun style because you have to cover more ground and kind of hunt harder for your trophy turkey. So same thing, just like rattling, it's the area that you're hunting. If there's not a lot of pressure, the deer are going to be more susceptible to responding to grunting and rattling. So only you know your area and the hunting pressure there. So I can't really tell you what to do, but hopefully I can get you pointed in the right direction. That being said, with the rut approaching across the country, hunters are increasingly taking their rattling antlers into the woods, and for great reasons. Rattling is very effective. However, if done poorly, it will ruin your hunt and your area. So you just got to be smart about it. My buddy Corey was up north with Jeff and hunting Saturday night and Saturday morning, I believe. He had a ton of pre-rutting action going on. Little bucks are chasing does, or trying to chase does, and even the big ones were getting a little bit excited. So that's up in, Oceana County. So not like northern, like up north, but it's decently north. So hopefully that trend keeps moving south, and the next time I get out, I have the same experience. He said it was one of the funnest hunts of his life. Those two sits, so that's exciting. You can't beat the whitetail rut for sure. My favorite part of deer season is coming up, and I can't wait to spend as much time in the woods as possible. Pre-rut and rut are definitely some amazing times to be in the woods, and that Halloween week, that week before Halloween, are some of my favorite times to be in the tree stand. You never know what's going to happen. Just a great reminder, regardless of how heavy your action is and how wild your hunts are, just be patient. Things are about to bust wide open in the next 2 weeks, and it could give you an amazing opportunity to take a fantastic buck this year. Well, that's it for this episode of the Hunt, Fish, Live podcast. Leave a comment. Let me know what you use to rattle in that big buck. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel on YouTube and follow me on Spotify. Thanks for listening again, everybody. We'll see you later. Good luck.